Welcome al podcast de Palante Nonprofits. I'm your host, Andrea Ortega, y estoy super excited to dive into the world of nonprofits.
Welcome to Palante Nonprofits, a show where we explore real strategies and stories behind leadership, innovation, and community impact. Yo les dije que iba a traer a personas excelentes en este season 3, and I'm so excited today because we have Virginia Peña, who has built a career on turning vision into reality. From managing multi-million-dollar government contracts to building and guiding entrepreneurs through pivotal growth moments, Virginia's work spans through industries, construction, tech, government, and nonprofits. And through the time that she's done it, she has always done it to empower people to create lasting change. And I'm so excited because Virginia actually serves on the advisory board of the tech startup I'm working on. She is also a great coach to my partner in crime, Ashley Rivera Mercado. She is a person who comes from the moment you meet her with a lot of strategy, with the right and hard questions. And that happened from the first moment I met her. And I think that is so important. She has led agile transformation, saved millions through compliance improvements, and has steered organizations through the turbulence of the pandemic. She champions diversity. We were talking earlier about how much she stands up for minorities and how passionate she is about that. And it's just, she does it with such elegance, and I'm so excited that I get to talk to her today. So, Virginia, before I start with my questions, and I'm going to hit you off, do you want to just say a little bit about yourself?
Thank you, Andrea, for this amazing and humble accept your kind words on this introduction. And I believe you said almost everything, and I feel so proud for this invitation. I'm here to share my hard lessons learned through my career, and I hope all this work can help your audience and they can apply my lessons learned.
I love it. Absolutely. I think we have a lot to learn from you. And so, you've had really decades of experience working. There was a point where you worked for the Orange County, for Prospera. Many of you know, I can share more info on that later in our episode. But my first question to you is really about the power of collective vision. So, how do you help nonprofits or small business leaders who come to you with an idea or this vision? How do you help them clarify that vision and rally the people working behind it?
Well, I think so. The vision, it has to be co-created in every organization, nonprofit, for-profit, a small business, diverse business. It needs to be integrated with the team, with the people. The vision that is isolated, is creating a silo. It's not the one that is embraced by the teams, by the organization, the clients, the customers. It has to be co-created. And one of the most important thing is to listening and being able to understand who is a part of your team. When talking about the shared vision, I think so leaders needs to create a space to listen their all the teams and customers, everyone they are involved, the stakeholders for their organization. Again, profit and non-profit, small business, all needs to have a space to listen and act upon that message they receive. I can give you my experience when I first joined the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. That it was in 2020, pandemic year. I joined the organization. My first day, it was around February 20, less than a month after we were encountered in moving our whole operation remotely. As a Chamber of Commerce, the core of the organization is based on networking and activities to connecting a small business and generating these opportunities of business. From the impact of the pandemic, everything has to be changed. Not only the Hispanic Chamber from the core need to do the change, but also adapt and helping all the members. Profit and non-profit organizations were suffering at the same level. Also the government. During 2020, it was the year of election. The candidates for the elected official, they need to be in contact and connect with the voters. So everyone was suffering because of the lack of in-person interaction. So what we did is we need to pivot. The Hispanic Chamber need to create new programs to help to connect at the digital and virtual level all these stakeholders. But the most important thing that we did, despite of the urgency, was listening. The first step, it was connecting with our members. I remember spending hours and hours and ending late at night talking with small business members that were struggling, and they don't know what it was the next step in order to stay afloat. So for every leader, one of the most important things to convey the message on their vision is to create a spaces to listening, creating town halls, surveys, focus groups, and listen to understand, active listening, and then act upon that information, valuable information they can collect. And from that, the vision is when actually it's created and provide benefits to everyone around the organization.
When we talk about that collective power, right? So making sure that people are building together and not in silos. I think that really translates to how I do things and how I think that has been the most successful. And I just really appreciate you sharing your experience, especially with the Chamber of Commerce, which I was very involved in. So and it was very in person, right? The community that they
Yeah.
had built was very, very tied to in person. And I know that the pandemic must have hit hard. So thank you so much for sharing your experience. Our next question, Virginia, is you've bridged the gap between big picture vision and practical results. What are some strategies that leaders can help translate ideas into really tangible, lasting impact?
For me, the strategy means execution. It sounds like a contrarian concept, but a strategy has to go in hand with the execution. Sometimes having the perfect strategic plan in a binder without having the execution plan, it's is not the most viable thing. And for a small business and for nonprofits, most of the time, we don't have the perfect scenario. We don't have the perfect strategic plan with all the resources aligned, with all the clear path to go in every step of the strategic plan. We need to act the resources that we have, and sometimes it requires that we move forward. A strategic plan should be trying to pursuing the most important goals and with the resources and that we have at hand. And I want to share a special quote that I really like it. The quote says, I think so you should have here, and most of everyone, your audience had hear this quote. It says, perfection is the enemy of progress. Is one of my admired person is Winston Churchill. That quote is the meaning is the relentless pursuit of unattainable ideal can prevent you from taking action, completing tasks, and making real forward movement. And I think so is a translation of what that's mean on trying to create what is an MVP or in agile framework, which I am I really proponent about implementing agile framework or agile mindset. The MVP, for those that or of your audience that don't know what it is, it means minimal viable product. In tech, is a concept very used, and sometimes it's also interacted with creating pilots. That means with the resources that you had at hand, move and create something that it can be workable. It can be presented to your customers, to your stakeholders, and continue developing and evolving and improving. But staying paralyzed in getting all the assets that you need all the resources that you need to create that is perfect strategic plan is not doable. Maybe for big corporations, maybe for government, but not for nonprofit and small business, diverse professionals. They need to advance and progress in their vision and mission for their organization.
And I thank you so much for sharing about the MVP as someone who just started a tech company. And even when I got into the tech for good space, I think, sometimes I'm not necessarily a perfectionist, but I think there's a lot of like small attention to details that sometimes prevents you from moving forward with maybe, a big idea. And I think I love that you said it's strategy and execution. And sometimes one, you should strategize first before executing, but I think they also go hand in hand, especially with big ideas and things that might come out of your norm, because you usually strategize if you can expect or forecast an outcome. When you're doing something new, something that's different, a new pilot program, there's new funding, or there's a new disaster, or there's something new you're responding to, you have to do those things together. And I love, I don't know if you know this, but I have said so much that strategic planning is not just a PDF you share with people. I don't know if you
Yeah.
know that, and I actually love that you started this answer with that, because that's how I know you're my people, Virginia. But also, like, especially nowadays when you could probably say like ChatGPT a strategic plan for this org, that is not execution. That is not implementation into your day-to-day things. And I stress that so much with the nonprofits I work with. I think you hit it on target with that. So our next question is, and I want to kind of we've talked a little bit about how you've stayed resilient, and so I actually want to shift gears into innovation and how diversity fuels progress. How can leaders move beyond just using diversity as a buzzword, and embed that in their organization's success? And you've said, before we got on this podcast, you mentioned to me how one of your favorite times in your career is advocating for diversity, advocating for minorities. Why? I'd love to know your why on that. And how do you, when you do advocate for us, for you, like how do you do
That's you're totally right. During more than 7 years, I was seated at the advisory committee for the Orange County minority organizations. That is MWBE, Minority Woman and Business Entrepreneur Advisory Board. The Orange County has a program. It used to have, unfortunately and sadly, it was canceled due to the new regulations at the federal government. But my time while I was serving at the committee, I got the privilege to defend, to give the voice, to being able to share all these values that minorities that bring to the community. Mi rol como mujer, como hispana, en ese momento yo estaba representando la industria de la construcción dentro del comité de minorías del condado de Orange. Tuve la oportunidad de defender el programa. Básicamente, el Advisory Board lo que hacía es, cada vez que una certificación de minoría era denegada a una organización, una compañía, tenían la posibilidad de presentar y hacer una apelación frente al board. Muchas organizaciones de non-minority, sorry, el Spanglish, non-minority organizations, they present their appeal and they present it with their attorney because the Condado de Orange tiene muchos fondos para proyectos de la comunidad. Por regulación, un porcentaje no menor al 25% se debía, ahora está se debía de asignar a organizaciones. ¿Por qué me sentí tan bien de representar a organizaciones minoritarias? Es porque hay que dar la voz, hay que generar esas oportunidades, y la manera que lo podemos hacer a la comunidad es que todos contribuyamos nuestro granito de arena a que esa voz sea cada vez más alta y llegue más lejos. Las oportunidades están nos tienen que dar la voz. Se dice que minority, it's a buzzword. It shouldn't be. It has to be not only all these minority program should create the right environment, but not also to participate, is to give the space, to give the seat for as a decision makers. We need to have the opportunity to make decisions and bring in our values. So leadership means give the voice to others and promote it. Not only give the appropriate voice to the others, so empowering minorities, empowering the small businesses, empowering nonprofits, empowering diversity, but also communicating. Sometimes we don't have all the answers, but we need to stay in communication, at least to saying, I'm here to listening. I'm here to bring in ideas and trying to bring a solution. This is a lesson learned, not only to get communicated with your stakeholders, your internal team needs to know that you are there as a leader for them anytime. Sometimes we are asked for a solution that we don't have, but at least communicating and saying, I'm working on that. I'm going to be able to bring in an answer to your question, but give me time. Communication is key in everything, in managing your project, managing your team, managing your programs, your organization, connecting with your community. Communicate, communicate, communicate. Even if you don't have the right answer, but stay in communication.
I love that. I think, I love that. First of all, you said so many amazing things. Like, diversity is not just a buzzword, and I think we hear that a lot. But your point around uplifting other people's voices, that's something that as a leader, that's something that I think I've always prided myself on. And which brings us to our last question of this conversation, Virginia. But I actually don't know if you're a servant leader. I know I am. I'm a servant leader, and I do know that there's different types of leaderships that you should use. I don't think I'm only just a servant leader. I can definitely um, we're not only one thing, right? We should be able to switch on and off based on it. But at the heart of it, I am a servant leader. I believe that my role here is to serve others or whatever shape that means. And one of the ways is uplifting them, right? It doesn't always have to be, I think people take that word as you're a servant to others, but that's not true. There's ways to serve others. One of them is uplifting them. One of them is making sure that to not take the credit for things that other people do. Like there's so many ways to show servant leadership. And my question to you is, what are your top practices for empowering team members so that they can bring their best work to the table every day? And I say that because when I first heard about you, right, from Ashley, like it's not just the hard questions that you ask, but it's the way you put people in the mentality, right? And I think when even I met you, I don't think I was even in that mentality at the moment, but it's so important to be able to turn that on and be fully present and be in your leadership and your best self when you're representing an organization or a business or whoever you represent. So tell me a little bit there about your leadership, and what that means for others.
Thank you for telling me this because I'm like you. I am true believe that my leadership style and I bring me this specific question bring me nice memories. When I was doing my MBA, I remember one of the topics that we were talking about, it was learning about leadership in business and all the theories about different leadership style. You don't need to know that whole plethora of theory about what is leadership. And this theory, leadership is born or is created or different leadership style. Everyone knows by heart the type of leadership that you have intrinsically. In my case, like you, we are servant leaders. Others that are like to lead and open opportunities and open creating paths for others to follow. In my case, I am the type of leader that I sit next to the person that I want to help or even behind and trying to push them softly for the other to be the self. And one framework, talking about methodology, I like to mix a little bit of everything. Agile has a specific framework it called Scrum. And the role of a Scrum Master, for those that they don't know, is a little bit similar to a project manager. However, the project manager is leading directly, is managing a project. However, Scrum Master, what it does, the main role of a Scrum Master is to helping the team to move forward in their activities and removing impediments, moving barriers for them to shine, to bright, to progress, and to build. Using this analogy is what I like to do, is to help the others to remove their barriers, remove their impediments, to be the best leader if they want to be, the best team member, the best entrepreneur, and the best professional they can be. Yes, and helping them to discover what are the strength they can develop. And like you said, one area that I can say that I pride myself is for every situation, for every person that I'm get the opportunity to interact, I usually have like a vision. After assessing, get the conversation of that person in a specific context, I usually create like a 360-degree of vision of that person, and I usually get that vision that I like to share for the others to learn what are the possibilities to grow in different areas. Everyone got a subjective vision of their self. And in my case, what I like to is to use all these opportunity of developing this 360-degree vision of that person and sharing and helping them to explode all these aspects, all these angles, and in order to be the best one that is possible, either individually or with a team. Yes, servant leadership is the way that I like to develop my leadership style, and applying all these strategies to help the others to shine.
I love that your project manager comes out, because Agile and Scrum are definitely things that you learn as a project manager. And that should be, I think, one of the best things that I've learned working as a program manager, understanding a little bit about Agile and Scrum, is that it allows for like that fast iteration. There's kind of a science to the madness. It's not about not build it's a way to put the strategy and execution together, right? It's not about just staying in strategy and never seeing how it's actually going to happen. It's about doing that in an iterative process that allows you to get honestly to what you talked about earlier, which is an MVP. And that could be a product, that could be a pilot program. But this person said, I don't want an impact report about all the amazing things you did. I want to know what you learned. If you iterated, why? What did you learn? What was it about your program, or what was it about your event that didn't work, and how you responded to that? And I think, in a lot of these like Agiles and Scrum, there's always a feedback loop integrated
Yes,
in there. There's always a feedback loop. And I think my experience in tech is you listen to the feedback loop so that you can iterate and go back to the start, So definitely, I think for nonprofits out there, like you can like your leadership, whatever style it may be, try to aim for that iterativeness and learn about, if you haven't, about what Agile and Scrum Master is, because I think those are tools. Those are tools so that a lot of the things that we talked about today with Virginia, you can implement. And with that being said, Virginia, we're at the end of our episode. I'm so excited que viniste acá, que hablaste con nosotros. You're proof that leadership isn't just about making decisions. It's about creating environments where people work together and achieve more. Whether you're in the boardroom, a construction site, a nonprofits meeting, and I say that because right now your role, like you guys just redid where you currently work's website, and they work in construction, and so like you've been all over the map. But no matter where you are, you can apply these things to be successful. And if there's any nonprofits out there who can take some of what she shared today, we'd love to hear about it. Please subscribe, and you can find Virginia on LinkedIn. Is that correct?
yes,
Can
yes,
they
yes.
find you
They
on
can find me
LinkedIn?
mostly. in LinkedIn. Please reach out, connect with me. And I'm super excited to contribute to the audience of Palante. Palante siempre. I hope my words could help and inspire someone. And if you need or someone that is listening to needs to connect and talk and exchange some ideas, I'm always open to share, and I would like to continue contributing to Palante. The nonprofit community now more than ever needs to stay together and reach out and extend hands to help each other. So I'm here. Here is my hand, and whenever someone needed, reach out.
I love it. Thank you so much, Virginia.
Thank you. Thank you for
Bye.
inviting me. Bye bye.